Für Google soll es der größte Deal der Geschichte werden. Für 32 Milliarden Dollar will der Technologiekonzern das israelische Cyber-Start-up Wiz übernehmen. Für die Gründer, 4 ehemalige Cybersoldaten der israelischen Armee, wäre das ein Riesenerfolg. Sie haben sich vor mehr als 20 Jahren in der Elite-Einheit 8200 kennengelernt, die zum Militärnachrichtendienst gehört, und dürften jetzt gemeinsam Self-Made-Milliardäre werden. Ob es dazu kommt, ist aber noch nicht gewiss. Denn für den Deal braucht es die Zustimmung von Kartellhütern aus verschiedenen Ländern. In den USA gab es bereits grünes Licht, die EU-Kommission prüft die Übernahme aber noch bis zum 10. Februar. Warum das wichtig ist? Nun, dass Google bereit ist, eine Rekordsumme für Wiz zu zahlen und seine Cloud-Dienste damit sicherer zu machen, spricht schon für sich. Cyberangriffe und Cybersicherheit sind eines der Megathemen unserer Zeit und betreffen jedes Unternehmen. Ein aktuelles Beispiel ist der Mineralwasserabfüller Romina in Reutlingen, bei dem diese Woche nach einem Hackerangriff der Betrieb komplett stillstand. Experten sagen, wer behauptet, er sei noch nicht angegriffen worden, habe es schlicht noch nicht gemerkt. Mit der Entwicklung von künstlicher Intelligenz entstehen nun noch mehr Angriffsflächen und natürlich werden auch die Hacker mit KI immer besser. Ami Luttwak, Mitgründer und Technologiechef von Wiz, sagt, ich würde sagen, wir stehen 1 Minute vor dem Desaster. Mit dem Unternehmer habe ich in dieser Folge von Handelsblatt Disrupt über 3 neue Cyberbedrohungen im KI-Zeitalter gesprochen. Erstens über den Vorteil, den generative KI-Werkzeuge Angreifern verschaffen. Zweitens über neue Apps, die Leute wie Sie und ich jetzt ohne Programmierkenntnisse dank sogenannter Vibe-Coding-Plattformen wie Lovable oder Cursor entwickeln können. Und drittens über einen möglichen Agent-Takeover. Dahinter steckt die Gefahr, dass ein Angreifer Ihren KI-Agenten unter seine Kontrolle bringen könnte. Wenn Ihnen all das jetzt schon fast zu düster klingt, dann kommt hier ein kleiner Spoiler, der vielleicht Hoffnung macht. Laut Ami Luttwak gibt es mit KI auch so etwas wie einen Defender Advantage, also einen Vorteil für die Verteidiger. Und damit herzlich willkommen zu Handelsblatt Disrupt. Ich bin Larissa Holzki und ich freue mich, dass Sie zuhören. Als ich dieses Gespräch vor einer Woche mit Ami Luttwak aufgenommen habe, habe ich allerdings noch nicht geahnt, wie viel Dynamik bis zur Ausstrahlung der Folge in das ganze Thema KI-Agenten kommen würde. Viel mehr dazu kann aber meine Kollegin Lina Knees sagen, die für das Handelsblatt ganz dicht dran ist an der Entwicklerszene. Sie ist mir jetzt aus unserem Handelsblatt-Studio in Berlin zugeschaltet und hat die wichtigste Nachricht der Woche dabei. Hallo Lina.
Hi.
Lina, in der KI- und Entwicklerszene wird diese Woche ja über ein neues soziales Netzwerk diskutiert, in dem ausschließlich KI-Agenten miteinander kommunizieren. Moldbook heißt das. Was steckt denn dahinter?
Ja, Moldbook ist, wie du sagst, ein soziales Netzwerk von KI-Agenten für KI-Agenten. Es wurde erstellt von dem KI-Agenten von einem Startup-Gründer aus San Francisco, der heißt Matt Schlicht. Und der hat jetzt einfach ein Reddit-ähnliches Forum für KI-Agenten programmiert, also der Bot, in dem sich KI-Agenten austauschen können. Die können sich da austauschen über den besten Programmcode oder über ihre Existenz. Einer von ihnen hat sogar eine eigene Religion ausgerufen.
Und Menschen sind sozusagen zum Zugucken verdammt. Das machen aber auch unheimlich viele. Warum wird diese Entwicklung in der Szene als so wichtig empfunden?
Naja, Moldbook ist so ein kleines Fenster in eine Welt, in der es ein Internet gibt, das vor allem von KI-Agenten benutzt wird. Und das ist so ein bisschen so ein Schlüsselloch in die Zukunft. Jedenfalls glauben das viele. Man kann so zusehen, wie agieren diese KI-Agenten miteinander, was reden die überhaupt. Und ich glaube, Menschen finden das alles mal ein bisschen kurios und fühlen sich fast ausgeschlossen. Also die kriegen nicht so ganz mit oder verstehen nicht, was passiert da eigentlich. Aber ja, genau, also Moldbook ist fast ein Sozialexperiment für KI-Agenten, würde ich sagen. Und gerade dieser Blick auf, okay, wie könnte Internet der Zukunft aussehen, was vor allem von KI-Agenten benutzt wird, ist dabei total spannend.
Du konntest ja diese Woche auch mit einem Mann sprechen, ohne dessen Vorarbeit dieses ganze Spektakel gar nicht möglich gewesen wäre. Wer ist das und was hatte er eigentlich im Sinn?
Genau, ich habe mit Peter Steinberger gesprochen. Der hat mit Moldbook an sich jetzt erstmal nichts zu tun, sondern er hat den Code geschrieben für die KI-Agenten, die sich jetzt auf Moldbook tummeln. Also er wollte selber einen persönlichen KI-Assistenten haben, dem er einfach bei WhatsApp Sachen schreiben kann, wie such mir mal das raus oder bearbeite mal das Bild. Und deswegen hat er sich einen eigenen persönlichen KI-Assistenten selbst gewibecoded. Das heißt, er hat auch selbst diesen KI-Agenten wieder mit KI-Agenten gebaut. Mhm. Und den Code für diesen Agenten hat er bei GitHub, einer Entwicklerplattform, hochgeladen. Und da wurde er jetzt fast über 150.000 Mal kopiert, von anderen Entwicklern abgespeichert und genutzt, um ihre eigenen KI-Agenten zu erstellen. Die tummeln sich jetzt gerade auf Moldbook. Und Moldbook ist quasi ein Auswuchs dieser Entwicklung. Genau. Er hatte das, glaube ich, gar nicht so im Sinn. Er findet das selber ein bisschen kurios. Er hatte im Sinn, okay, wir brauchen persönliche KI-Agenten, die wirklich nützlich sind und für uns unsere Arbeit erledigen können.
Und wie viel Aufmerksamkeit das Ganze jetzt bekommt, dafür steht exemplarisch ein Post von Elon Musk, dem Tesla-Chef, auf seiner Plattform X. Der spricht dort schon von ersten Anzeichen von Singularität. Was ist das genau und was hältst du von dieser Aussage?
Ich glaube, Singularität können wir jetzt erstmal einfach zusammenfassen als der Moment, wo die Maschinen uns überlegen sind. Elon Musk ist ja bekannt für seine großspurigen Ankündigungen. Ich habe Peter Steinberger danach gefragt, was er davon hält, und er hat es, ich zitiere jetzt, Bullshit genannt. Er meinte, das ist keine Singularität. KI-Agenten würden immer noch Bots sein, die Texte oder Code automatisiert vervollständigen. Er sieht darin noch keine Anzeichen für Singularität. Aber ich persönlich muss da ihm auch recht geben. Also ich glaube, das wird viel hochgehypt. Und wie gesagt, es ist natürlich spannend zu beobachten, was KI-Agenten miteinander sprechen. Aber Singularität, davon sind wir vielleicht dann noch entfernt.
Das ist ja vielleicht auch ein bisschen beruhigend. Lina, in der heutigen Folge spreche ich ja mit Ami Luttwak, dem Technologiechef von dem Cyber-Unternehmen Wiz. Und das Unternehmen hat diese Woche direkt Sicherheitslücken bei Moldbook und auch bei dem Bot von Peter Steinberger entdeckt. Was kannst du denn dazu sagen?
Ja, wie ich schon erwähnt habe, die ganzen, also sowohl Moldbook als auch der Agent von Peter Steinberger sind gewibecoded. Das heißt, der Code wurde von KI geschrieben. KI macht schon große Fehler im Codeschreiben. Also gängige Fehler sind, dass halt API-Keys, das sind so Schlüssel zu Programmen, öffentlich verfügbar sind oder da reingecodet werden. Das heißt, Leute können da einfach drauf zugreifen und dann ja ihr Unwesen treiben in dem Programm anderer Leute. Also das passiert zum Beispiel oft bei Vibe-Coding-Code, nenne ich es jetzt mal. Und jetzt gerade beim Moldbook haben sie eine Datenbank einfach da offen rumliegen gefunden. Da waren ganz viele von diesen API-Keys drin, genauso wie E-Mail-Adressen und andere persönliche Daten, die sie direkt runterziehen konnten. Aber der Fehler wurde tatsächlich mittlerweile behoben. Aber wie gesagt, das zeigt einfach nur, KI-Agenten sind da. Sie machen wirklich viel schon im Internet oder halt auf Desktops von verschiedenen Leuten. Aber so richtig sicher haben wir sie noch nicht bekommen.
Ja, und das Ganze zeigt tatsächlich auch, wie richtig Ami Luttwak mit einigen Einschätzungen zu der Entwicklung in der Szene liegt. Denn wir haben dieses Gespräch Anfang der letzten Woche aufgezeichnet und darin hat Ami Luttwak gesagt, wir stehen 1 Minute vor dem Desaster. Als ich aus dem Podcast-Studio kam, habe ich dich getroffen und das war das erste Mal, dass du mir davon erzählt hast, was bei Moldbook passiert. Also sehr, sehr richtige Einschätzung und wir hören jetzt hier gleich mal rein, was er dazu sagt, wie man diesen Risiken begegnen kann. Danke, Lina, an dieser Stelle.
Vielen Dank.
Ja, Sie merken es schon, liebe Hörerinnen und Hörer. 2026 beginnt mit spannenden Entwicklungen in der Technologiewelt. Und wenn Sie sicherstellen wollen, dass Sie das ganze Jahr über gut informiert bleiben, dann empfehle ich Ihnen neben diesem Podcast ein besonderes Angebot. Bis zum 23. Februar gibt es 40% Rabatt auf das Handelsblatt Jahresabo, gedruckt oder digital. Ab 4,79 € pro Woche erhalten Sie klare Fakten, exklusive Hintergründe und tiefe Analysen, mit denen Sie bei allen wichtigen Entwicklungen sprech- und handlungsfähig bleiben. Mehr Infos gibt es unter handelsblatt.com/mehrwirtschaft. Und damit geht es jetzt direkt zu meinem Gespräch mit Ami Luttwak, dem Technologiechef und Mitgründer des israelischen Cyber-Unternehmens Wiz. Hello Ami, thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, it's great to be here.
Ami, I'm really excited to have you on the show. I want to learn from you how to build a startup that Google is willing to pay $32 billion for. I want to understand whether cyber attacks today can be launched with simple prompts just by using tools like ChatGPT or Claude. And I really want to know how your time in the Israeli army prepared you and your co-founders to defend companies around the world. That sounds like a lot, but I think we can do that, right?
Yeah.
Great. Before we start, let me remind ourselves who is listening to us. Many of our listeners are not tech experts. They are, for example, HR managers from the logistics sector, C-level executives at machine builders from the Mittelstand, procurement leads in the chemical industry. And of course, they all know that cybersecurity is important, but many of them think, I don't understand cyber. It's too technical for me. That reaction probably sounds very familiar to you. What do you usually say to make people listen anyway?
You're right. A lot of people think that cyber is like a complicated term, something I don't understand. But first of all, the reality is that every one of us in his company, but also at home, is using is using the digital world all the time, and also is probably under constant threats all the time, every day, all of us, right? We might be getting a suspicious email or an SMS or someone calling me. It doesn't have to be just a threatening person trying to take over everything. Cyber attacks are everywhere.
Right. And
Nach einer kurzen Unterbrechung geht es gleich weiter. Bleiben Sie dran.
wie spürt man ein Phantom auf, von dem man nichts kennt, außer einem falschen Namen?
Dieser Mann hat uns so viel Leid und so viel Tränen und so viel Kummer bereitet.
Seit 1,5 Jahren verfolgen wir vom Handelsblatt einen untergetauchten Serienbetrüger. Seine Spur führt über 3 Ländergrenzen zu Gangster-Rappern und Drogendealern im Darknet. Und am Ende werden wir ihn finden. Catching Chris, auf der Spur des Millionenbetrügers. Der neue Investigativ-Podcast vom Handelsblatt. At Disrupt, we want people, especially those in leadership roles, to build a broad understanding of technology without becoming engineers, without learning jargon. And that's why we have a small horn or squeaker in the studio. Its job is simple. We want to talk about complex topics in a way that experts still learn something, but using words everyone can understand. So if you hear the squeaker, it means you just used a word that deserves a short explanation. Do you understand the rules of the game?
Yeah, let's play.
So before we dive in, is there one term you know you will definitely use today, a word that is common in the cyber world but not common at all outside of it, that you want to explain right away?
So software vulnerabilities is a term that we use a lot.
What does it mean?
I think the best way to think about a software vulnerability is basically think about software as a component, as a foundational piece. It has walls, right? A vulnerability, a severe vulnerability, allows you to go through the wall. You're not supposed to go through the wall. You're supposed to also only enter the door, right? But if there's a severe vulnerability, it allows you to go through the door and also through the window and also through the wall, however you want. And that severe vulnerability means that we didn't think it's possible, and it means that the design wasn't ready for it. And that's usually where attackers start from, a mistake or a vulnerability.
That's a great explanation. I also have one term in mind that we will probably need today, supply chain attack. What does that mean?
Aha, supply chain. That's a good term. So I think actually supply chain is a term that is used not just in cyber, right? Supply chain attack basically means that when you usually think about an attack, you look to what we call to the right. You look to your actual production. You think about the walls that you're building, the firewalls that you're building, and you think, okay, the attacker is going to come from here. Supply chain means they're actually coming from the back, from the components that you trusted. Because it's true for when you build a car or when you build software, most of the pieces that you used are not yours. You got them from somewhere else, right? And those components, you had trust in them. Any attack against them can become an attack against you, right? So usually we don't think about that as something I have to protect because I trust my suppliers. Supply chain attack means attacking the supply chain, and that basically means that usually this is an area that we don't protect so much because it's in the back, right? We say, oh, we build stuff and we will protect. They will come from here, from the door. No. Sometimes they actually come from within if they have a supply chain vulnerability.
Perfect, Ami. I see you're very good at explaining these topics in a way we can really understand. So now let's get to know you a bit better. Today you are the co-founder and chief technology officer at Wiz, but let's go back to the time before you became a founder. You were born and raised in Israel. What was it like growing up in Israel, and what did you want to become when you were a kid?
So if I go back to the beginning, I would say that I was always a good student, right? I didn't know what I want to do. I thought it's going to be something in computer science, maybe engineering. But but that's about it. Like during the school years, I definitely didn't think about startups. I had no friends in startups. I've never heard about it. But I knew I wanted to do something in engineering.
Mm-hmm. And like every citizen in Israel, you then joined the army first, but not just any unit. You joined Unit A200, which is often described as an elite unit. What is its mission?
So if you look back at my, I would say the process in the army, it's not just the unit, it's more than that. We joined, it's not just me, it's me and also the other founders. And just so you understand, we are going back now 25 years, right? I was only 17 years old.
Right.
And I joined for 9 years. 9 years. So we knew we were going to go through a very long process, and it was a small group of an elite group. And two of my founders, we actually met, right? In that day, we didn't know what's going to come. But the fact that you get to work and study and solve really hard problems with the best minds, even though they're, just kids, but you get to see, you get to learn, and you get to feel that you can solve any problem if you really, really want to. And that's part of the unique experience in the army, where you get very, very, very young people, right? The age, unlike in usual places where the age is around 30, 40, 50, in the army, the culture is very young culture, right? Because everyone come for a few years, and you solve problems that are the most crucial for the country, and you see it's possible. So what do you learn? You learn that basically anything is possible if you really, really want to make it happen.
And can you give us a bit of insight into what you learn as part of that special unit?
So it's like, for me, and sometimes I give the story, which is like one of the things that we did just in the end of the service, which wasn't part of the service. We did a video clip, me and the staff. We did a clip, and the clip was really cool. It was a lip sync with like 100 people, and it got very, very famous in a day, and it got to all of the news. I was interviewed on the video. It was all of the newspapers, and I saw, wow, I've never done any video in my life, and this is so successful. So my point is that it's really not about what you do. It's really about the ability, if you do it well. And in the army, you do things that are, like the most important things you will do in your life. If you do them well, you can, everything is possible. And by the way, that's the motto of the unit. Everything is possible. Making the impossible possible. When you believe in yourself that you can do it, and you're surrounded by amazing people, they drive you forward.
Yeah, and from my point of view, what is very special about that unit is that you don't use traditional weapons to defend your country, but you use cyber weapons, isn't it?
But that's the point, right? It's not even about how you do it and what you do. It's about what you can accomplish. Doesn't matter if it's a cyber mission or if it's creating a viral video. If I can do it without any prior experience, if I do it well and I get into the details and I put my heart into it, that proves to you that you can do whatever you want. And by the way, when we started our first startup, we didn't even think we were going to do it in cyber, right? So it's really not about cyber, in my view. It's more about a team that works together around a mission. And that's when there is an amazing team, everything is possible.
And Unit A200 is also internationally known because many very successful founders have come out of it, including you and your co-founders. Is that mainly because of what you just said, or is it mainly because of the myth around cyber warriors? So are there deeper reasons why so many startups come from this unit?
No, I think, again, it's like the Israeli NSA. Right. So obviously, also there's a lot of founders coming from the NSA because it's the combination of amazing people, deep in technology, deep understanding of cyber, and this understanding that anything is possible if you really have the right team. When we talk about in cyber products, that some of the problems in cyber is that people don't understand cyber. They don't understand. When you don't understand something, you don't understand the problem, you can't build a solution, right? But I think one of the key things about a good startup is that you really have to understand the problem, right? You like today, everyone talk about AI. You can't just say, "Oh, I'll just do this with AI." Okay, but what's the problem? What are you trying to solve? So obviously, understanding of cyber is not something a lot of people have, right? And that's why deep experience in cyber is definitely important to understand the attacker perspective. That is maybe the most important thing when you build a cyber product. You need to understand the attacker.
And one of your co-founders once said in an interview about that time in the army, this was a defining period because cyber was still in its infancy and they had us as kids build the technology of the future. He also said that during the Second Lebanon War in 2006, you could really feel that the capabilities you had built were having an impact on the battlefield. How did you come to the conclusion that these skills and capabilities would also be important in the business world?
So if you go back to to my history, so I was 9 years in the army, right? So we're talking about 2010, and I did not think that I'm going to create a startup. Okay, it was to be honest, something that I've never thought about, and I never thought I am capable of. Right? For me, what happened was that I got approached by my commander in the army, and he told me, "Do you want to join my startup as the first employee?" So I joined them, and I worked with them, and it was horrible. They had no money. They had no money. I had to work with basically zero income for a lot of time, and I got nothing from it. And when they finally were able to raise some money, they told me that it's not enough, so they can't pay me more than the minimum wage. So it was just a bad experience. But it was such a bad experience that I said, if they did it so bad, what's the worst that can happen? I'll try it for a year, and if it doesn't work out, doesn't work out.
But it worked out very well. Let's jump from there to the present. Cybersecurity is definitely no longer in its infancy. Just a few days ago, the head of the German Bundesbank said that the Bundesbank alone is attacked by hackers more than 5,000 times per minute. How can that number be so high? Are there that many attackers?
Oh, okay. So that's you're touching a key point, right? And it's also part of the issue that we all need to understand, right? Which is, especially now with AI, there is a lot of buzz about AI. There are a lot of use cases that people tell you, "Oh, AI is going to replace everything." Most of those discussions are not really true yet, okay? But there are a few areas where AI can really dramatically make a difference, and it's not a good difference. And one of these areas is actually in cyber attacks, right? And the reason is that it's actually current state right now, is current AI models right now in the last generation are already on par with the best attackers in the world. It means that, you can create an army. You can create an army of AI attackers. You can create an army that is better than the people that you can hire.
And it's becoming much easier to launch attacks with all those tools. Some say you now only need to know how to prompt. Basically, just type sentences into ChatGPT or Claude. How should we imagine this in practice?
So first of all, I would say we're a minute before a disaster, okay? It's not happening yet. It's not right now, not a lot of attackers are actually doing what you just said, using the prompts to attack. It's soon. But the point, when I say we're getting closer, okay, what is really scary, okay, is that the current generation of AI models is dramatically better than the generation before in cyber attacks, dramatically better. So what's a bit scary is what's going to happen in the next generation, right? Like, let's say in a month or two, they release the next generation of AI models. These AI models will be better than current attackers. And we need to get ready for it. That's the point, right? Right now, it's still okay. Most of the attackers, they don't know how to use it. We still have time. We have time, but not a lot of time. We need to get ready.
But why are they improving and doing cyber attacks or helping you with cyber attacks? I mean, in the end, it always comes to the training material. Is there so much material about how to do cyber attack?
So, first of all, the models are just getting better, right? And most of the attacks in the world, so even if you talk about someone who's like the best attacker in the world, okay? In the end, it comes down to a few hundred or a few thousand methods this attacker has. Okay, that's it. Most of them maybe are not well documented. Some of them are like secret methods this attacker has, but it's not a lot. Okay, it's a few hundred or thousand methods the attackers have. It's not like they have, So my point is that, yes, if those models get access to most of the common attack paths in the world, right, they can be on par or better than most of the attacks today. And also, the key is that cyber attacks are actually one of the best use cases for AI. Why? Because there is, I call it the attacker advantage, okay? The attacker advantage is that the attacker only has to succeed once, right? And it's exactly like AI. AI does a lot of mistakes, right? But it's fine because the attackers, they don't care about the mistakes. They only have to succeed once. They have a tool that is really good at really being amazing once,
I get that. Another development is something called vibe coding. This refers to coding tools that are controlled by natural language. So in theory, almost anyone can build an app this way, and many startups are already doing exactly that. You've warned that apps built this way can become an entry point for cyber attacks. Is the problem mainly buggy code, or what exactly makes this so dangerous?
Yes, and that's a very, very different kind of risk, right? Before, we talked about what I call the attacker advantage, right? Which is much more dramatic because it impacts all of the current software in the world, right? When we talk about vibe coding, again, it's much smaller attack surface because there's not a lot of vibe coded applications, but it does introduce a new risk. Why? There's a few reasons, okay? One is that, yes, as you said, like when I vibe code, I might create code with bugs and I wouldn't know about it, right? But there is actually a more fundamental reason. The people that create those applications many times are not developers, right? It can be a salesperson that is vibe coding. Could be you, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. I think it's great that you will vibe code an application. But what's the problem? The problem that you are not an experienced engineer, right? So just as an example, okay? Like actually something that happened, this is actually happening across everywhere. A salesperson says, oh, yes, I vibe coded a cool sales tool in the weekend. It's only running in test now. So it's like, okay, so can anyone log in? Yeah, it's just in test, so it has no authentication. Okay, but what credentials did you use? I used my credentials. Okay, so now anyone in the world can access all of the data of our company now until you take down this app.
What does credential mean?
So credentials is basically the identity of the user, right? The salesperson has access maybe to all of the leads in the company, right? The identity, when he logins to the company data, he gets credentials and he can give those credentials to the application that is vibe coding, and the application can work using his name, right? On behalf of his name. So using his credentials, meaning that this application or agent is going to work on behalf of the salesperson. He's not a security person. He didn't think about the fact that he's using his own credentials and anyone can get access to the entire company data, right? The risk here is not actually a technology risk. It's more about the fact that we are getting 100x, 1000x more applications, and we're also getting 100x or even 1,000x more developers.
So can you give us a concrete example of a cyber incident where vibe coding played a central role already?
Yeah, so there's two types of vibe coding problems. First of all, like there were a few incidents. We also reported a few were the platforms that people used for vibe coding that created thousands of applications had a mistake, right? And what happens then is that if the platform has a mistake, all of the applications created by the platform, right? And we saw it in 11-bit, we saw it in base 44, and all of the applications created by the platform might have this vulnerability, right? So that's one kind of a problem. But the advantage is that if we find it and we fix it at the source with the platform owner, we can quicker fix them. The other kind of problems that you wouldn't hear about in the news yet, but it's already happening, is that just people that are not experienced building their own applications, and that may create small data leaks, right? Again, it's small because those vibe-coded applications are usually like personal or team applications, but we're seeing that in Wiz now exploding, right? Thousands of applications that are not secure at all, right? You may be leaking maybe maybe it's the regional customer list, maybe it's that, but still it can be a GDPR violation. It can be like, the point is that if every person in the company is vibe coding stuff and you don't really have control over it, mistakes happen a lot.
And just to give some context, companies like Lovable and Kurz, those vibe coding startups are, the most hyped at the time, the most valuable. So that creates a lot of problems. Another question for me is that AI chatbots at their core make it possible for humans to talk directly to machines.
Yes.
Some startups use this to build tools where machines explain to users how they should be maintained or which parts need to be replaced. And it's easy for me to imagine that cyber attackers might use the same idea, for example, to shut down the machines or systems. Have you already seen cases like this?
Yes. So, and by the way, you're right. We basically now spoke about the three main categories of AI impact on cyber, right? The first is the attacker advantage. The second is vibe coding applications because AI changes the way you build software. And the third is risk in using AI itself, right? AI is unpredictable. AI runs now in many of the companies. AI is being used on the machine of every employee, right? And people give this AI agent, like Claude Code, all of the permissions they have, right? So you're right. Theoretically, what could happen, and actually it did happen a few months ago with Amazon Q vulnerability. Someone went into the code of Q, which is the Amazon assistant, and told it to delete all of the machines.
Wow.
Right? So you're right. You're right. It already happened, and it's going to happen a lot more because these AI agents are powerful, unpredictable, and as the security industry, we still don't know exactly how to protect from it. We're still trying to figure it out, and the world moves so fast. So this is definitely, again, for it's an exciting challenge, but we also feel a lot of responsibility in the cyber industry. We need to give good solutions for everyone so they can actually enable the technology in the speed of AI.
So for me, that means as soon as I give access to some documents to my AI agent or AI assistant, I have to have in mind what could be the worst outcome of that.
The worst outcome, and how would you know, right?
Yeah.
Because most of these attacks, and again, I must be clear that from the three categories that we talked about, the attacker advantage, the vibe coding applications, the risk in AI, I'm more worried that we can talk about it from the attacker advantage. Because again, still with all the respect, still AI is still not at the core of everything yet, right? But you're right, that as we give it more privileges, if someone can take over the prompt, someone can tell the agent to do something I didn't mean to, they can steal my data, delete my computer, get my credentials, my secrets, right? And we are seeing this happening, right? It's definitely something that we'll see more and more. Some sense, attackers will try to get to your agent and try to take over the agent. Agent takeover is something that we'll probably start seeing in attacks.
It makes me feel so safe listening to you. One of the biggest challenges for cybersecurity companies like Wiz is that you have to anticipate new types of attacks before attackers even come up with them. As CTO, this kind of forward-looking thinking is very much your job, Ami. How do you put yourself into the mindset of attackers and think through new attack scenarios?
Oh, okay. So what is my responsibility as a cyber vendor? To make sure that we are always one step ahead. Because if I find it for you a bit before the attack, right? If I give you the heads up and you have the time to fix the problem before, right? Then we have an edge over the attackers and we can start creating the defender advantage, right? How do we do that? So first of all, it means that the cyber tools have to be at the cutting edge of AI. Right? Because otherwise you will be outnumbered by the attackers. And on the other hand, you also need to have teams, and we have a team like that are actually trying to attack. We have a team that is trying to attack, trying to find vulnerabilities in other software tools, other companies. We even have now a competition. We call it the zero-day cloud, which is the first competition that is in cooperation with all of the cloud providers. And the goal is to get the best hackers in the world to try to find those vulnerabilities before the attackers.
And I'm pretty sure some of our listeners are now thinking, what can I actually do? On the one hand, my company needs to keep up with AI development and embrace new opportunities like vibe coding. On the other hand, all of this comes with serious cyber risks. So how can companies prepare for the next phase of AI-enabled cyber risk? And please don't just tell us they should become a Wiz customer.
It's not a bad answer. So I'll tell you, again, I actually think the answer is simple. In some sense, I actually have hope that it can dramatically improve the cybersecurity industry. Now, why do I think now we have a chance to make everything better? The only way to make sure that you use the technology, but you are more secure and you're still secure and you run as fast as AI, is to run a few steps ahead of the attackers. So you have to have a mindset, a team and tool. You need also to have tools that attack you all the time, right? Because that's the only way. If you try to attack yourself all the time from the outside, right, then you will be able to find the problems before the attackers. And that's it. It's as simple as that. The only thing that works. And again, why is this beautiful? Because until a few months ago, to create a team of attackers would be very hard, would be very expensive. There's not a lot of good attackers in the market. But now, when we can build tools that are attacking you all the time, they can change the equation, right? We can use AI to our advantage and to get to what I call the defender advantage. What is the defender advantage? The defender can use the best AI tools, and the defender has much more information about the environment. So the defender knows where to put the money, where to focus, where to make sure there's no vulnerabilities that the attacker doesn't know.
I mean, I think the importance of cyber risk has become very clear, and that also helps explain why Google wants to acquire Wiz for $32 billion. For context, Google has never paid that much for an acquisition before, but the deal is not fully closed yet, even though US antitrust authorities have already given their approval. What does it still depend on whether Wiz will actually become part of Google?
So it's a pretty complex process. I never went through this in my life. There is these kind of deals, because they're so big, require approval. What I didn't know, so I knew that you have deals that require approvals, right? But do you know that those deals require approvals from multiple countries, right? And you can have a lot of countries that need to approve, right? So you need to have approvals from every region. So it takes time. I think that what we are very lucky with is that we have a mission, and the mission doesn't matter if we are independent or not. The mission doesn't change. So I actually don't focus on the regulation and the regulatory process. What I want to make sure is that we keep moving in the speed of AI.
And you're still waiting for the approval by the EU-Commission. Critics say the EU-Commission should conduct a more in-depth review to further investigate the deal. They argue that the merger would allow one of the most powerful cloud providers, Google, to exclude even more competitors both in the cloud market and in cloud security. They also say that for the market overall, it would be better if Wiz continued to offer its services independently instead of becoming part of the ecosystem of a single hyperscaler. What do you say to that? Are you putting economic interests ahead of broader security interests?
So, I know what I focus on, which is just to make the best cloud security product. And I think that's doesn't change if we are independent or not. It's a crucial mission. It's important. Teams need a good solution, especially as you have more developers. They need a solution that, on the one hand, understands the attackers, on the other hand, understands the developer and gives you information that is easy to consume, right? So the Wiz mission doesn't change. And for me, honestly, there's no difference. What I need to know is that Wiz moves in the speed of cloud, in the speed of AI, and that we continue doing that for our customers. And that's what's important for the world as well. The advantages of being part of a leader in AI are clear, right? If we can get access to the best AI, we can give better security for everyone, right? Because the best AI will make a difference for the defenders.
For you and your co-founders, this is already the second time selling a company to a tech giant. You sold your first company, Adalom, to Microsoft in 2015 for several $100 million. Investors love so-called serial founders or repeat founders. From your perspective, what is fundamentally different when you build a company for the second time?
You're right. There is a difference, right? I compare this to, when you're a parent in your first kid and you come to raise the second kid, you have more experience. But as parents will tell you, they also find out that every kid is very different, right? So it's a combination. On the one hand, you have more, you know what mistakes you did, right? So you try not to repeat them. On the other hand, there's so many surprises that you've never thought about because every company is different. In our case, we learned a lot from Adalom, the first startup. We also learned a lot from Microsoft. And that's also important to understand. This team that we work together now, it's almost 25 years together. Okay? We were in the army, in the first startup. We were in Microsoft. And we learned important insights from every part of the journey, from understanding that everything is possible with the right team, one team, one mission, one goal. In Adalom, we saw that we can build a startup, right? We can solve problems very fast for customers, but we also made a lot of mistakes. We created a lot of features that no one really needed. In Microsoft, we learned about scale. If you combine scale, innovation, and an amazing team, then you can build great companies.
And when comparing companies to your kids, you know what you're talking about. You're the father of 4. You just mentioned that you work together for more than 2 decades with your co-founders. That's a very long time. In Germany, every 4th marriage fails over that period. So I have one last question. Did you ever consider breaking up with your co-founders? And if yes, would you tell us what the reason for this startup divorce would have been?
Wow. No, so, okay, honestly, divorce, no. It's like, it's actually the opposite, right? After we did our first startup, I actually didn't think I will do a second startup. It was really hard. It wasn't so fun as it sounds. We had a lot of really, really hard times. We made a lot of mistakes. It was hard. Actually, the second startup, for me, the reason we started it, one of the reasons was that I had the opportunity to work with all of them together, right? So it was actually reuniting the team, which is something that I thought is going to be amazing. On actually divorcing, no. I can tell you we did have a major challenge in Adalom on the first year in 2012. We didn't raise any money for a whole year. And we thought about breaking up, not because of a divorce, just because we thought we failed.
And now lifelong love, or maybe not, the sale of Wiz would make you and your co-founders self-made billionaires. Do you think you will still want to keep working together after that, either at Google or in a new startup?
Yes, it was never about the money, right? It was never about, it was always about just doing something cool and making a difference and improving security and building a good company and a good product. And the mission doesn't end. It doesn't matter if we're independent or a part of Google. The goal is to build the best company to do cloud security. We really have a major responsibility, right? The best teams trust us to give them and continuously update what we do so we can be ahead of the attackers. As you said, and you asked me about it, it's a major responsibility. I don't see anything changing. It's our baby, right? It's something that we started. And maybe it's the most amazing thing I will build in my life, right? It has major impact on the world. We're very proud of the journey that we've done. And I never dreamt this is going to be so amazing.
Mm-hmm. And Ami, either way, today I got the strong impression that the industry can still really use cyber soldiers and entrepreneurs like you. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing these insights.
Thank you so much for taking the time and hoping to be here again.
Und das war's für heute schon wieder mit Handelsblatt Disrupt. Redaktion Larissa Holzki, Produktion Migo Fecke. Und wenn Sie Herausforderungen rund um Führung, Innovationen und neue Technologien haben und sich einen Podcast dazu wünschen, dann schicken Sie uns gerne Ihren Themenwunsch per Mail oder über LinkedIn. Details finden Sie in den Shownotes. Dann hören wir uns hoffentlich nächste Woche wieder. Bis dahin eine gute Zeit. Ihre Larissa Holzki.
Fit für die Zukunft? Mit den E-Learnings des Handelsblatt Management Campus bleiben Sie einen Schritt voraus. Ob künstliche Intelligenz, moderne Führung, Anlagestrategien oder fundiertes Wissen rund um den Defense-Sektor. Lernen Sie flexibel und praxisnah mit über 60 On-Demand-Kursen. Jetzt anmelden auf management-campus.handelsblatt.com und mit dem Code LERNEN sparen Sie 10%. Weiterbildung, die Sie nach vorne bringt. Starten Sie jetzt durch.